You are listening to Main Street Students Podcast, a ministry of Tomball Assembly of God. For more information about who we are, visit our website at tomballag.com or head over to our Instagram page at MainStStudents.
Hey everyone, Pastor Miguel here, and you're listening to a segment we call Young Voices. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 says, "Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity." We believe God has given young people a voice to impact this generation. During this podcast, you will hear interviews from students about their journey with Jesus. Well, welcome. This is Pastor Miguel, and I'm joined with my friend. Go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Hi, I'm Nathan Martinez. I'm 18 years old, and I'm a senior in high school.
Come on, dude. Senior in high school. Nathan,
Sir.
You've been such a blessing to our church and to our student ministry. When did you join Main Street Students?
It was somewhere around October of 2021. I'm not entirely sure. It was right after the quarantine and everything started to open back up. We were just looking for a new church since we had just left the one that we were at before COVID happened.
Yeah. Man, I remember you guys coming to church and getting involved in youth group right away, coming to Sunday morning services. And what a blessing it's been having the Martinez family a part of our church. You guys are amazing. So how did you get involved?
So first it came with the youth group. Like that's where it started for us. I mean, it was probably the first Wednesday after we had come up and walked in, and immediately we were welcomed. It was Brock, actually, the first person to ever say something.
Brock the Rock.
Yes, sir, Brock the Rock, the one and only. I remember we had gotten out of the car, and we started walking, and then he saw us, and he turned around. There was a bunch of kids playing, and he goes, "Hey, straighten up," or something like that. And then they all walked towards us in a pack, and we introduced ourselves, and I mean, from there, we never looked back.
They walked towards you as a pack.
Yes, the whole group started walking towards us. It was a little intimidating, but they were just like, "Oh, hi," and super welcoming. It was amazing.
I love that. You know, one thing we love is having a healthy culture that's all about unity and building each other up, finding a place to belong. We really value that here at Main Street Students. I love that, man. All right, so how did you come to faith in Jesus?
Well, I've always been in church, and ever since before I could talk, we had been going to church. But I mean, I feel like this is common with kids who are growing up in church. It was never personal for me. It was my parents. My mom and dad go to church. So, yeah. I mean, that's what I did. But it wasn't until we started going here that my religion became a relationship. And it was me, not just me going to my parents' church. And it was, I think Pastor had preached about it last Sunday, said something about a parable in Matthew that was the man who found hidden treasure in the field, sold everything he had to go buy that field. And that really resonated with me because that's how it was. It was I'm willing to give up everything to pursue God. And it was for me, it was real.
Wow.
Something I had never experienced before.
I love that, Nathan. And I think there's so many people out there that, we go to youth group because our parents make us, right? Or we show up to church because we have to, or even people that are older that just go to church because they feel like it's just check off the box.
Right.
I have to do this. I'm a Christian. I live in America. I'm supposed to do these things. But when you truly fall in love with Jesus and you have a relationship with him, everything changes. Like you said, your religion turns into a relationship. And that's what God's after. He's after that relationship. I love that, man. That's so good. So you came to faith in Jesus one day. How old were you when it happened?
It was probably around 16, 17, so really not that long ago.
Wow. So within the past 2 years, you've really made your faith your own.
Right, yeah.
That's such a big deal, bro. And how has attending a youth group helped you with your relationship with God?
Youth group, for me, is that's where it all starts. That's your foundation in the church, is where you make friends, you get involved, and then it just branches out from there. Start serving in kids ministry, start serving in the media team, which is I'm in both of those right now, and it doesn't start without the youth group because I remember the way I got involved in the media team was Pastor Johnny was the worship leader.
Woo-woo.
And we were outside during Wednesday. He comes up to me, he goes, "Do you know how to work a computer?" I was like, "Decently." He said, "Perfect, you're on the media team now." I was like, okay.
Yes.
So that was it. But
That was Johnny's style. It's
Yeah,
like,
he was-
we need help. He's like, hey, you could do it. Come
Yeah.
on, let's develop you. Let's make it
the
happen.
criteria to make the media team is knowing what a computer is. So if you know
Yes.
that, sign up. We need some help.
You know how to use a mouse? Praise God.
Perfect.
You're the guy.
Right. No resumes. That's all you need.
I
Just
love
a
it.
computer.
And then you got fired this past Sunday from it, right? Is
Yeah,
that
I
what
did. Yeah,
we
my
talked
last
about?
week, I played
Yeah.
our youth pastor played a questionable announcement video.
Yeah, it was
like
so
he made
bad.
that, and they blamed it on me, and I was done. That was
That's
my last
right.
day.
It was bad, and then he kept changing the lights too during
Uh-huh.
pre-service.
I don't know why he does that.
That youth pastor's crazy, man.
Interesting guy.
Someone needs to fire him.
I agree.
Anyways, so yes, bro, I love it. And you like helping involved, in serving and stuff. Are you gonna talk about El Salvador at all and your experience there? With
Oh
serving?
yeah, absolutely. I had never even been out of the country before.
Yeah.
And the
And
mission
just-
trip.
Real quick before we jump into this, just for those listening, so this last year we took our first mission trip as a church to El Salvador, where we took 19 people with us, students and adults, going to this country to just bless it. We did so many different things there, with serving with a missionary there. But really, like, I asked Nathan specifically about this because I've seen a difference in Nathan and his walk with Jesus from before the trip till after the trip. And so, talk to us about that, because I know being a part of the youth group and being a part of the church and then going on that trip really like did a lot of stuff. It was amazing. So anyways, talk to me about your experience in El Salvador.
So for me, the biggest impact that came out of it for me was seeing how blessed we are, and like seeing the kids and the conditions that they live in. It really makes you appreciate the blessings that God has given to you, and like the even just the building that we have, like air conditioning, something we would normally take advantage of and like
Yeah.
not even think about. Like it just made me so much more grateful that God has blessed me and my family the way that he has, and it just made me appreciate everything that I have so much more. And just seeing the kids, that's just like,
It's moving.
yeah, it's
It's moving, bro. And like, so if you've never gone on a third world missions trip, it's so eye opening seeing people and the way that they live, and then seeing their faces and the joy that they carry when you show up. And it's not really you, it's Jesus in you,
right.
and it's so awesome. And so I know that you attending the youth group, attending the church, provided that opportunity for you.
Right.
And would you recommend someone to go on a mission trip in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Like it's scary at first, but once you get there, you're like, wow, like this is just amazing. I would 100% recommend anyone who's second guessing themselves, go for it. Put yourself out there.
Yes.
It's so worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it. All right. So tell me, what is God teaching you now in this season of your life?
By far, the like biggest thing that I'm learning is resilience and trusting God that he will get you through it. Being a senior, getting closer to college, and I'm working a lot. So there's a lot of things that I have to balance, and it's by yourself, it's frustrating. You can't do it. But like my favorite Bible verse is Psalms 46:10, and it basically says, "Be still and know that I am God." And that is just like so perfect for someone who, and not just me, anyone who has a lot on their plate. If you just trust God and let him put it in his hands, it's 10 times easier.
Come on.
And it's all part of his plan, and it's such a comforting feeling to know that you don't have to do everything.
It's so good. So many times we try to do things at our own strength. There's a verse in Zechariah that says, not by might nor by power, but by your spirit.
Right.
But
Yeah.
by his spirit is what the prophet was saying to the people. Like, these things are going to take place. They're going to happen. But you don't have to do it on your own. Jesus himself will help you. His Holy Spirit will help you.
Yeah.
And so it's so good. Be still and know that I am God. I love that verse. It's so good. All right. My other question is this. As a high school student, especially as a senior, man, like you said it yourself, you're going through a lot of different things. You have school, you have jobs, you have college in the future, a trade school. Like you are going like through it right now as a high school senior. And so a lot of shifting, a lot of things happening. How important is it to be a part of a local church?
being like one thing that I think is not spoken about enough in youth group is obviously you have your friends, the people who are your age, but you also have wonderful role models that you can't get anywhere else. Like to have in our, I mean, I'm not going to go a whole lot into it, but the youth group that we were in before was not a good youth group. The leadership it was not where it needed to be, and I'm not trying to, put down that church or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you come here and we have obviously you guys as the youth pastor, brilliant examples.
The most humble man that ever
Absolutely,
lived.
yeah.
Just kidding.
Love that guy. But for me, the biggest one has been Brock.
Yes, I love Brock, man. He's such a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I had said it before from the first day. I had immediately just felt like a pull to be friends with that guy, get to know him better, and obviously we have we'll talk about football, we'll talk about sports, we'll play basketball. I win every time, by the way. But
yes.
But to also have that someone who's close, like a brother, an older brother, because I have an older brother, but he's in college. He's been gone for like 3 years now, and to have someone close to my age to mentor and lead me is something that is hard to find anywhere else but a youth group.
Yeah. I remember when I was 18, I got involved in a youth group, and there was a man named Brian that spoke into my life. And I remember Brian because I was a troubled teenager, but Brian was always there encouraging me, showing me grace, guiding me, helping me. And man, those kind of mentorship opportunities that are created within a youth group setting, they're so vital as a high schooler, as a middle schooler, because it helps you grow more in Jesus and also helps you with your life. It's amazing. Man, I love that. So I'm so grateful that Brock is that man in your life that just invests in you, loves on you. Man, that's so good. And like you said, you could find so many different people within a youth group, a healthy culture, a healthy youth group setting of people that can just invest and pour into your life. Man, it's so good. Okay, one last question is this. Is there anything you'd like to share before we close out of this podcast?
Absolutely. These are just some things that I wish I had heard before, like when I was a freshman and when I was younger. It's just that high school, it's hard. Like, it's not an easy road whatsoever. Classes are hard. The transition from middle school to high school is hard. And then, like, you see and you're on your track and you're growing and you're getting older. You're getting closer to college and moving on and not being able to count on your parents anymore. You have to be your own person.
Yeah.
And for me, that's always been scary. But just knowing, like I had mentioned before, recently, like, it's in God's hands. It's all a part of his plan. It's all going to be okay. You're going to grow up. You're going to be great. You're going to have fun. And it's all through God. Like, without him, there's nothing. And I'm just so grateful now with the comforting feeling knowing that God's got this. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to move on and do great things and change the world and, just be an adult and grow up. And
it's so good.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's at the end of the day, like, life is going to happen. Situations are going to take place. There are going to be things that take place that we can't control.
Right.
We live in a fallen world. Sin abounds. However, Jesus is always with us.
Right.
He gives us life and life abundantly. When the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, which happens, things are killed, things are stolen, things are destroyed. But when those things take place, we can turn to Jesus, and Jesus will give us the victory.
Yeah, that's good.
So good. So good, Nathan. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Nathan. Hey, before we close out of this podcast, is there anything you want to share? Any funny stories, maybe any moments that are special to you about the youth group?
No, yeah, absolutely. A thing I didn't mention is the way kids my age have helped me, and like having kids around me who are on fire for God as well. I remember one time in specific, it was after a Wednesday night service. It was me, my sister Anna, Ellie, James, and Evan. We were in a Whataburger. We got there around 9 p.m., and we sat in that Whataburger and talked about God and the Bible until 1:30 in the morning. We were there for so late. We had to leave because my mom texted me. She's like, "You coming home?" And I was like, "I don't know, maybe." But no. It was, amazing times here with the other students in the youth group. It's just a fantastic group of people.
I love that. One thing that we are very much culture doesn't just happen. Culture has to be created and then has to be maintained. And one thing we are very focused on, I feel like, in our youth group is creating that healthy culture and those kind of relationships where you can thrive as a student. And so hearing that you guys had that experience, that's hilarious, man. That's like hours hanging out at a Whataburger.
Yeah.
And it was a fancy Whataburger, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was
Tomball.
Yeah, it was tuxedos required to get in.
Yes.
Fancy stuff.
Floor was probably a little sticky.
Yeah.
But when you have the right people, totally worth it the whole
Yep.
time. Man. Well, Nathan, I so appreciate you hopping on this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and encouraging those that listening.
You are listening to Main Street Students Podcast, a ministry of Tomball Assembly of God. For more information about who we are, visit our website at tomballag.com or head over to our Instagram page at MainST Students.